Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Infinity, and this is Magnetize Yourself, where we talk about life, love, spirituality, and of course, the law of attraction. In today's video, we are going to be doing a collective reading and energy update for our beautiful collective here on YouTube. You guys who have been around the channel for a while know that I do these main collective readings every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And on those times and days, I also have an extended version of these readings on Patreon where we go deeper into the messages. So if anything from today's reading begins to resonate with you and you'd like to join our Patreon Soul Tribe to access the extended version of the reading, then you can click the link that I'll be leaving in the pinned comment and description box underneath this video. But I will most likely be letting you know as well if anything specific comes up in the reading that we're going to take a closer look at on Patreon. The first thing I want to say, and part of why I actually felt guided to say I do these main readings on those days and times, is because I'm sensing I am going to be creating a lot more mini readings. And I just call any videos outside of that main posting schedule mini reading videos, even though oftentimes they actually aren't so many because they tend to very often be just as long as some of the main collective readings. But I've been picking up on just a lot of waves of downloads and information coming through. And it almost feels like some kind of valve has been opened or some kind of tap has been turned on, spiritually speaking. So for those of you who are very much in tune with the collective, which I'm getting is really most, if not all of you who are listening to this video, most of you are really in tune with what's happening collectively, universally, even cosmically, astrologically. You are an empath at all levels and layers. You receive information energetically from so many different places and sources through the quantum field. And you may be noticing that you've felt pummeled by a lot of energy lately. This could be happening consciously. So you might actually be feeling guided to write down thoughts or ideas that are coming through. And of course, the way that information comes through will look very different from one person to the next, because we all have unique skills, soul gifts, ways of interpreting and translating energy. So that's going to look very different from person to person. But most likely you've felt a lot of that coming through. Again, whether you're interpreting it consciously or whether it's just this subconscious feeling of being really tired, needing to rest a lot more, feeling overwhelmed, because even if you're not consciously like receiving specific insights or ideas, you're still feeling almost a bit overwhelmed by a lot of this energy. I keep getting the name Caitlin for someone for some reason. I also got something about the sign of Leo. So maybe someone has Leo energy in their birth chart, and something about a lion as well, which lions can represent being very protective. So maybe this is a message that you are very protected in the spiritual realm, even as you might be receiving a lot of this information energetically. Maybe someone just needed a reminder that your path is being protected. Okay, so I have so many different downloads that I've been writing down over the course of the last couple days. And some of them I've already incorporated into videos that I've released already on the channel. But many of these I've just kind of left sitting here. So there might be some message coming through for you as well, where you've received a lot of energy or received a lot of information. And there's almost this time of allowing things to percolate. I think that's the correct word, but I'm not 100% sure. Really allowing yourself to kind of marinate in the energy that you're receiving. Maybe writing it down if it's something specific, if it's an idea or some kind of piece of creativity or inspiration, but otherwise allowing yourself a lot of rest. Because what I'm getting here is, while you might be feeling a lot of inspiration, when it comes to actually taking radical action on that, you might feel a little bit of natural tension or a little bit of resistance coming up. And I'm hearing not to fight when you're feeling that way, because it's your soul telling you to allow yourself to sit with things. Because I'm hearing there's a phase where you receive energy, and then there's a phase where you have to allow that energy to marinate, to process, before it's ready to be fully alchemized or fully transmuted into something physical. And that's why often during these periods of time where we feel highly inspired, we might write down some of these ideas or just kind of feel them coming through, but also feel extremely physically tired. That can be our physical body actually intuitively telling us to slow down and allow ourselves to physically integrate that energy that we're receiving, so that we can then be a vessel later on for sharing it or for transmuting it in a clear way to other people through something that we'll be doing or creating. So I'm going to go ahead and shuffle the cards here, but I will be weaving in some of what's been coming through in some of these downloads. So one of the first things coming through, and I just felt this wave of chills, is, wow, there's a lot going on for you energetically and spiritually, because not only are you receiving a lot of these downloads, a lot of this inspired energy, but also there seem to be a lot of specific people, a lot of very specific energies that are intensely intrigued by you. I'm getting the letter initials J, O, R, G, and E. Those could be in someone's name. Of course, this could also be the name George. But what I'm getting is, you have a lot of people deeply curious about you, wondering about you. I'm hearing they are wanting to know your formula. And this is actually something I wrote down. They want to know your formula, but they don't have your frequency. So I feel like I'm speaking to a specific group of people here, where there are certain things that you are upon right now, that you are either doing or creating or beginning to do. And the ripple effect of whatever you're doing is generating a lot of interest in the quantum realm, meaning generating interest from people who are spiritually or energetically connected to you in some way, either from your past, or maybe there's some kind of soul connection there, or there's been a lot of communication, thought, energy shared between you in the past. All of these things can strengthen that bond that we have with another soul in the quantum realm. But what I'm getting is that there are many people trying to reduce you to a formula. And I'm not sure why I'm getting this so specifically. I know that this sounds like a very strange message, but it's almost like people trying to figure out how you did something, how you accomplished something, or maybe it's not something specific you accomplished, and it's just this way that you live your life. Like, how do you do that is kind of what I'm getting from people around you. It's yes, a deep curiosity, but it also feels a bit dismissive, if I'm being honest. From some of these individuals, it almost feels like, how did you do that? And it's like they want to accomplish something similar, or they want to repeat or copy what you're doing, but they think it's like some kind of cut and dry formula that they can replicate. They think they can replicate what you've done or what you embody or how you live by following a specific series of steps. But that's not how your energy operates. You live in the fifth dimension where there are no rules, there are no formulas. You are the glitch in the matrix. You are free. You are unbounded by these types of concrete ways of doing things. And I feel like that's really triggering by for certain people who are not yet willing to fully let go of the matrix, who are not yet willing to fully let go of the old, more 3D based way of doing things. And I've said this before, and I believe this concept first came from Bashar and his channelings, but the concept is of glass walls, and this has come through as we've talked about this separation between the 3D and the 5D, and how you've really ascended energetically to very consistently being in this fifth dimensional space, being in this frequency of love, of connection, of abundance. I'm hearing something about how you make people feel so seen and connected with, even just with a smile or with a glance. Even strangers who pass your path, who cross your path, I guess we could say, that you might not even say a word to, that you might just exchange a very brief energy with in passing. I'm hearing there's something about you that's so friendly and so open, but also so protected, meaning you're able to be friendly and open because you're also extremely divinely protected. And if someone has ill intentions, they will be bounced out of your reality. Even if someone doesn't have ill intentions necessarily, if they are holding on to a lot of dissonant energy within themselves, so if they are experiencing a lot of cognitive dissonance in their own field where they kind of know or feel one way, but they're acting in another way, there's like this disconnect. You will pick up on that and be repelled away from them, either unconsciously or sometimes even strange circumstances will occur to actually disconnect you from those individuals because you are living in such a blazing, pure, powerful energy of truth that it knocks out anything that tries to connect with it from a less than truthful place, even if that doesn't hold ill intentions, just someone who may not be willing to see a truth within themselves and is therefore acting in a cognitively dissonant kind of way. Even in those cases, I'm just getting so strongly that people will be bounced out of your reality. They'll be bounced out of your field or your life. But the thing about this glass walls kind of metaphor is people who are bounced out of your life will still be able to perceive you. And I'm getting that you have individuals who lost a kind of physical access to you, which, by the way, another message that was coming through really strongly is, and this is something I wrote down as well, I keep getting chills throughout this reading, which is always such a sign of spiritual confirmation for me. So do let me know in the comments what here is connecting for you personally, if anything. Of course, I always say, listen to your intuition, allow that to really be your guide here. But okay, so this is funny because this is confirming what I intuitively sensed prior to doing this channeling, which is that although I've written down many different downloads in this journal that appeared on the surface to be possibly unrelated, I knew deep down that everything was going to somehow be connected or weave together in some way. So maybe this actually relates to how you're receiving a lot of insights or inspiration or energetic information. Maybe a lot of this feels disjointed or it doesn't really feel interconnected in a harmonious way. And your guides want you to know that everything here is somehow connected, even if it doesn't necessarily appear this way on a surface. I'm seeing someone who's in the middle of a maze and they feel like they're lost. They feel like they're getting turned around. But then I'm being shown a bird's eye perspective where somehow that entire maze makes sense. It makes sense why you're being led around certain things in a maze-like fashion and led directly to other things. I'm hearing even the detours serve a purpose and make sense from a higher perspective. And that higher perspective speaks to you through your personal intuition. Okay, a little bit of a side message there, but what I was picking up is that some kind of window has closed. There are people who are no longer able to access you in the same way in the 3D as they did in the past because some kind of window has closed. And It's the natural progression of a message that I've shared at some point in the last year on this channel. I don't remember exactly when, but in that last channeling, well, it wasn't the previous one to this one. It was done a while ago within the last year. But I shared that you are almost like a spiritual celebrity who hasn't yet gotten famous. Of course, this is a loose metaphor, but it's almost like people you were meeting, people you were connecting with. I said it was almost like they were meeting a celebrity before they just suddenly catapulted into fame. Now, of course, take this metaphor however it connects for you, because for some of you, you might be literally manifesting being in the public eye, being famous, and know that if you are manifesting being in the public eye or having an audience, that there's a reason your soul has desired this, even if other people have misunderstood it or labeled it as egotistical. They've misunderstood that the reason your soul has been craving having some kind of an audience is because it's part of your soul's blueprint to leave a really deep impression on the planet and to create this ripple effect that will transform millions of lives around the world. So if that has been a soul desire for you, then don't dismiss or discount that, because there's a reason, according to your soul blueprint, that you've desired this so strongly for yourself. It's because it relates to the kind of planetary impact that your frequency is meant to have on other people and on the collective, especially during this time of ascension. But for some of you, maybe this isn't literal. Maybe this isn't a specific desire of yours. You may not necessarily desire literal fame. But in either case, you are a spiritual celebrity in the sense that you have a kind of high-ranking spiritual status. You are someone with a very rare energy. You're a very ancient soul. You've developed a lot of profound soul gifts and abilities, but it's almost like for a period of time, people kind of had a meet and greet period during your life where they were able to meet you and to connect with you. And again, I know that this can sound as though it comes off egotistical, but that's not the case. This is more about your soul's blueprint and the kind of impact that you're meant to have on the planet. But what I'm getting is that for a while, people were able to have a kind of access to you they normally would never have. And this is especially true for certain individuals who tend to carry a lower vibrational frequency. So people who tend to be on a much lower vibrational timeline, very tied into the 3D, as we would say, very much buying into the matrix, very much still trapped in some kind of limiting belief system. I'm hearing that typically because of your spiritual status and also just simply because of the law of attraction, where like attracts like, where we are drawn together based on frequency and energy, and therefore not typically able to connect with people or things that are far outside of our generalized frequency bandwidth. But in these cases, exceptions were made. Many people were able to communicate and connect with you, have this kind of direct access to you. And I'm hearing that on your end, this felt like being pulled into unusual friendships. Maybe for some of you, these were romantic situations where you were giving someone a chance romantically that you would typically never date, either because of certain major differences in the way you see the world or just feeling out of alignment with that person. But for some reason, in this instance, you felt so drawn to them. That will just be for a few people. But in many cases, these were friends. These were people that you may have inspired or supported or talked to significantly for a period of time that typically would have never had that kind of access to you. And I'm getting that during this time, it's almost like people were getting the opportunity to connect with you in a really significant way and to actually be inspired by you, to raise their own frequency, to raise their own energy, and to be able to later on connect with you on a higher timeline. But I feel that the window has closed where now people who've had that kind of access to you, but who have still been choosing to repeat the same patterns and still been choosing to remain consistently in a really low vibrational space, they are being denied the same kind of physical access to you. And this is really triggering for these individuals because they felt that window closing. So what I'm getting here is you may have noticed particular people reaching out to you in a triggered kind of manner, even people that you haven't spoken to in a long time, people that you may have been friends with previously or dated previously if you are in the dating world, or whatever the case is. I feel that you've either sensed psychically that these people are feeling triggered or kind of projecting that energy onto you because they're sensing that they've lost access to you, or some of them may have literally reached out to you or soon will be reaching out to you. And I feel that the messages or the way that these individuals will most likely reach out to you is when they reach out, it's almost as though they are trying to get you to compensate for their refusal to raise their frequency. Now, I know it's not going to look like that on the surface. You have to read between the lines, but most likely you will intuitively pick up that they're trying to push you in some way to get you to lower yourself vibrationally to connect with them because they've sensed that they've lost access to you and it's making them miss you. It's triggering. And again, it's strange because in some of these cases, these are people that you may not have necessarily even spoken to for a long time, or you may not really have that strong of a consistent connection with right now in the 3D. But regardless, they're feeling this sense as though suddenly they miss you. Again, even if you hadn't spoken in days, weeks, months, years, it's like this feeling of suddenly missing someone because they're sensing that you've ascended to this higher vibration, or really rather you've been in this higher vibration, but now they in their lower vibrational state have lost the same kind of physical access to you. And what makes it all the more triggering for these individuals is that just like in the glass walls analogy, they are actually still able to perceive you, just not interact with you in the same way. So it's almost like now the window has closed to continue kind of taking you for granted or trying to use you to connect more with their higher timeline without doing the work within themselves. And so what's happening here now is that window has closed and they're still able to watch you shining, to watch you in your radiance. And that word radiance keeps coming out so strongly as I've been doing these readings. I actually kind of want to look at a little definition of this word, even though I know in general terms what the word radiance means, but I feel there's something specific in the online definition of this term. And here we go. Light as emitted or reflected by something. Wow. Okay. So I'm getting the reason you are so radiant is because you reflect others' light back to them in some way. You reflect the light that others have within them, or the potential for light that others have within them back to them. And wow, I'm getting so many chills again because I've never thought to actually look up that specific word, but I feel someone really manifested that today because you need to know that you are radiant in the literal sense. You actually reflect other people's light in a way that helps them to see their own light, to see their own potential. But of course, as we know, this can either be incredibly inspiring. It can be a really beautiful experience to have your own light reflected back to you through another person. But it can also be triggering to see someone so putting in your face so strongly, not even trying to do so. It's not like you're consciously trying to put this in people's faces. It's just what your energy does. It shows other people so clearly their potential that they may actively be choosing not to live up to. I'm hearing they're triggered, but they don't want to let you go. So I feel that the people we're talking about here specifically, and again, for some of you, this could be one person, this could be several people. These are individuals that have been triggered by you for a while, meaning even when they've had this kind of access to you, they started to feel a little bit of resentment because they could sense in you everything that they were choosing not to pursue or embody or live up to within themselves. And I feel this began to build up a kind of resentment. You may have even sensed this intuitively, even though this person may have been saying the right things on the surface. You may have sensed beneath the surface this strange kind of sense that they were resenting you. And this is because they were resenting the way that you were reflecting their potential back to them, that they were choosing to fall short of, to not actively pursue or live up to. And so again, a window has been closed here. And now it's as though these individuals are watching you shine. They're watching you, and I'm just seeing something suddenly rise into a tremendous amount of success. I saw a graph that just suddenly started growing on this exponential curve. So I feel like for someone listening here, if there's something in your life that you look at a graph about, whether it's something related to your work, your finances, that's very, very specific. But even if it's not a literal graph, I see something taking off for you in a really huge way where things begin to happen really fast. And I'm hearing once the window closes, this actually allows things to happen for you really fast. And part of this is because when this window closes, a lot of energy that you had been unconsciously feeding these other individuals returns back to you. So don't be surprised if you get the urge to shut off this access yourself. Maybe some of this is what you've been intuitively guided to do. So you may have been guided to set boundaries with certain individuals or to go quiet in certain connections, to not communicate as much with certain people. And this is all for a reason. Now, this is weaving into another message that I wrote down in my journal, which is some energies are connected to your past and some energies are connected to your future, which is really becoming your now. I'm hearing the future is now. It's like that future version of you that you've been envisioning, that you've been trying to manifest, trying to step into. That is really aligning with your now frequency, your now energy. It's like all of those things you've been envisioning are now coming into embodiment. It actually reminds me of a title of a reading I did a while ago called From Envisioning into Embodiment. So what I'm getting is that these people who have lost access to you are connected now to the frequency of your past. And you are being pushed into the energy of your future. And I feel that in every moment, you can actually sense either within yourself or within a conversation, within a connection with a particular person or thing in your life, you can actually sense whether something is connected to your past or connected to your future. And it's almost like you're in this now limbo state where that future is becoming your now, but it's not quite fully materialized yet. And yet you are also completely closed off to the past. And so it seems really essential at this time that you keep facing your future rather than your past, that you allow yourself to keep connecting with people, things, ideas, ways of being that are really resonant with who you are becoming and not who you've been in the past. Because what I'm getting is that some of these past energies, it's almost like they are noticing their own lives falling into some kind of chaos, and they're trying to reach out to you or connect with you to kind of receive that sort of hit from your energy that they may have received in the past. And again, I'm not saying that they're doing this consciously. I just sense that these individuals trying to reach back out to you or connect with you, they remember how being connected to you seemed to artificially raise their energy and bring more positive experiences into their lives. So now that they're experiencing, I'm hearing something about someone's car breaking down. I don't know if that's specific to someone's situation, to either you or to a person you're connecting with. But anyway, I'm getting that someone that you've connected with from the past, or maybe multiple people, they're having things happen to them that they consider to be unlucky, or it's like there's things that they want to complain about. These might be people who seemed to mostly talk to you when they wanted to complain about the people around them, about their bad luck, about their lives, but they seem to never really take accountability. That is why the window was closed on them, because they weren't really taking accountability for the consequences of their actions. They were seemingly always just kind of complaining about circumstances. I feel like I could be talking about someone very specific here, and I don't like to be negative per se in these readings, but the reason that this is coming up is because I feel that these people or energies were actually really affecting you subconsciously, and that's why they were cut off. Because as we started this reading by saying, you are so divinely protected. And your mission here, your reason for being here, whatever you're doing, whatever you're creating, it's so powerful, impactful, and so important that I feel these individuals were cut out of your life, at least for this time, so that you can really return your energy back to you, refocus in a more pure way on yourself and on your creations, and see that exponential growth that you've been waiting for. Now, I do feel with the Empress and the Lovers, both in the reverse position, yeah, these individuals or things from your past, they seem to, I'm hearing you can feel in a moment whenever someone or something is trying to connect with the energy of your past, because they will either intentionally or unintentionally be trying to trigger your fear, your insecurity, your vulnerability, which I feel you've already worked through. But when you're engaging with these people, you might actually start to feel like wounds that you've already triggered in the past, or that you've already healed, seem to be triggered, which is really strange. It's like you've already healed these wounds and yet they're getting triggered. That's a sign that it's not that you haven't healed the wounds, it's that this person or this thing is actually just connected to a past version of you. And I just saw 3131 on the recording timer. So let me see if I can get a message here. A period of positive change, abundance, good fortune. Embrace new opportunities. Yeah, embrace new beginnings and fresh starts. So this is really about allowing yourself to embrace the newness of your life, to embrace the fresh start, and to not be pulled back into the past by people, things, or situations who are connected to those, I'm hearing past life energies. So maybe there are spiritual past life connections at play here, but also, of course, this could speak to the fact that these old versions of you are so outdated that thinking about that person that you used to be almost feels like having some kind of past life regression. It feels so disconnected from the person that you are today. It's like that slate was completely wiped clean, and you're meant to be really embracing that clean new energy. So I really hope this reading has been helpful for you. I know that nothing specific came up in the reading that we're going to be specifically addressing on Patreon, but that's such a beautiful and exciting thing, because that means that on Patreon, I'm going to be leaving things open-ended and channeling through whatever you manifest through when you join the Patreon Soul Tribe community. So your energy will really be manifesting whatever comes through that next reading. And I imagine we'll be expanding on all of this and just weaving it all together in a stronger way, going deeper into the messages. So if you do want to join me next in our extended reading on Patreon, the link to do so is in the pinned comment and description box underneath this video. Otherwise, I'm going to close this first reading here with one final Rumi Oracle card. And the Rumi card to come out here is Whirling Goddess. So I'm just going to read a little bit of a guidebook message here. Lose your head. Not a single thread that has a head can go through the eye of the needle. There is somewhere you are meant to be. It is here now in this moment. There is a gift right under your nose and fragrant wine in your glass, gleaming red as the most precious rubies. To be here now, you must pass through the keyhole. But your head will tell you that this is not possible unless the door is unlocked, even though your body is passing through the keyhole of that locked door into the endless world beyond. Leave your mind to be with its struggles for a moment. Leave your mind trusting, chewing a little, until you are truly through the keyhole when it can rest. Leave it be instead. Come dance with me. You are at the point of growth where your mind can hold you back rather than urge you forward. So that feels like a beautiful place to close today's reading. Thank you so much again for sharing your beautiful light and energy here. I am wishing you all a really beautiful weekend, and I look forward to reading your comments under this video if anything connected with you. Of course, I also invite you to subscribe to the channel, join our beautiful community of like-minded, conscious, creative beings here on YouTube. You can also follow me on Instagram at Magnetize Yourself, where I post more inspiration, information, and energy updates. Otherwise, have an amazing remainder of your day, and I will connect with you here again in the next video.